Welcome to Ymt112 Algorithm and Programming 2. In this session, we will discuss graphical user interface as a topic, and it's a very long topic, so we have two parts. Actually, two separate chapters, two different chapters. This is just the introduction to the graphical user interface, or what we can call it, GUI applications. So in Java, when we have anything related to graphical user interface, we assume that the application is creating a window, and this window has some components. So in a basic sense, we have something similar to this. A frame or a window, we call it, with some name or title here. And then we have some components. It's just a plain container. It doesn't have much. However, this is the way we create an application. It's very similar to other applications we use in our operating system, like window-like or graphical user interface or GUI. Okay, let's go directly to the questions and start discussing them practically. So design a simple GUI that provides the following window when it executes. So what we need to do is just providing or creating a code that gets us this GUI executed. Alright, let's go to NetBeans and start creating it. Initially, what we need to do is we need to create a class, and in this class we need to do the following. First of all, I believe you guys learned this from theory. We need to have, commonly we need to import for graphical user interface one of two classes or libraries of package or bunch of classes from two types. Sometimes one of them is enough, sometimes two packages are required. The lightweight components and the heavyweight components, the swing library or the swing class category. Let's import all the class components because we may need more than one just class of it. For the time being, I'm not interested in importing the AWT or abstract window kit. So in that case, I'm just importing the swing package or class, and that's enough for this example or for this just exercise. So what we need to do is we need to create a few components. Now let's just get back and look. What kind of components do I have here? Just one. Of course, we have the window, the outer window, which can be easily created. I will teach you how to do it. But how about this? So this is simply what we call a label, where we just display a text. Okay, so this label is usually provided using something we call panel. So the panel, you can consider it as a container or a smaller container, a small container to provide the components or widgets, the window components or window gadgets, to the frame of the window. So imagine this is a frame as a photo. Okay, so like the painting work, we have a frame for the painting. Then we have components inside, so we need to arrange these components based on panels, or you can say regions maybe, or it depends on how you look at it. Well, simply we have an empty or plain container for the window. Then we can place components on it, and the best or the most actually effective way is to create what we call panels so that we know where we are placing and what we are placing. So get back to NetBeans. Now this is our class. Let's call it note because the question here, as we see, has a title of note. So let's just follow the question. So the next component is a label. Let's go directly and start defining. So we need to define some private components. JLabel. I said earlier we need label. I'm very sorry. It's going on? Okay, J label. And this label, we can call it whatever you like, but give it a name that makes sense. Maybe we can call it label for the time being. Okay, what else do I have? Nothing else other than just a panel, so that you provide this label a place to fit on. Okay, J panel. Panel. We can call it panel. It's just fine. So now, as I said, imagine you have a label, just a text to be displayed, and then you place it on a panel, and this panel, you place it on your frame or the outer frame, the window. All right, so now in order for me to do that, I have to define both the label and the panel that I have now in my question. So let's just create a constructor. And for this constructor, as you know, the constructor has the same name of the class. And then we need to instantiate the frame, the window that we are having here. This window that we are having here. We need to instantiate it. So how to instantiate it? We use JFrame. You should know about this class in particular. Please read about it from your slides. Okay, window equals to new JFrame, and then we need to provide, okay, the title of the window. What's the title of the window? Now let's just get back here. This one. This is the title of this whole window, not this one. This is a component, okay, inside the container of the window. But this one is like a bar, the outer bar of the window, the control bar. We have its title here on this bar. Okay. So now we need to provide its whatever name we are given to it. Note. It's just a note window. Okay. So we have an outer window with a name. What do we need to do with this window? Before doing anything with this window, we have to define how we can control it. Let's say, how will I close it down? Window dot set default close operation. It comes to you like this automatically, so it's easier for you to just double click on it or press tab. It will come to you directly. Okay, then this is the default set close operation. So by default, how do you want to close this one? What kind of action do you want to have in order for this window to be terminated or closed? So we use the close itself, the default close provided by the window itself. We can use JFrame dot and exit on close. So exit once we close, once we terminate, we press this one. Sorry, we click on this one. Where is the sorry? We click on this one. We get to close or terminate the window. Okay, so this is the first customization of a second customization, because the first one we provided the title of the whole window, then the second one is how we are going to close it. The third one, how about the size of the window? Any window that we create or any graphical user interface that we create, we have to decide its size, the length and the width. Or if you like, the width and the height. Okay, so it's up to you. Width and height, length and width. Usually we call it width and height. Okay, so you decide for those. How do we decide? We need to use window. This is our instance of GUI, and we need to set the size. Okay, and now you see dimension. So you can use two integers directly, or you can define them as final, because you cannot keep changing. For an application to work, you should use some integers that you fix them while you're running. You cannot keep changing them the way you like while the program is running. You can modify them, yes, that's fine, but they should maintain their own size while running, unless you want to zoom them by yourself. You want to just zoom or change the size of that GUI after execution. Okay, so let's just start by 250. And what is this size? It's just the number of pixels that we have. So it's very similar to the definition of resolution that we know. However, this one is counted by pixels. So we don't say like centimeter or millimeters. No, we don't. We count by pixels, and 250 is enough to create a square-like GUI. Okay, 250 times 250 for the width and height. So let's get back to NetBeans. Okay, what else do we have to provide as a customization? One more thing we need, but leave it until the end. Now I will move to the components, the widgets that we have. Okay, so I said we have a label, and we should place this label in a panel, then place the panel on the window. Okay, so for the label, we have to create this label ourselves. So equals new J label. Okay. Okay, I made a typo, sorry. Okay. So we need to define what this label is containing. Let's just have a look. My first GUI. This is the content of my label. So I'll provide whatever provided in the question, my first GUI. Okay, that's it, nothing else, yes. So then we need to define a panel. The way we define label, we define panel. Now, just for the record, you can use a label and place it directly to a window. That will work, but you cannot customize, especially like very professional applications, without having panels. So it's a good practice to start with learning how to create a component or bunch of components or a number of components, widgets, and then create the desirable panels, and you place them and manage where you are placing them. Okay, equals new JPanel, and here we don't have any name or anything, so keep it plain. Now what we need to do is, as I said earlier, we need to place the label on a panel or on this particular panel that we have, then we place the panel on the window. Okay, so we use panel dot add, and then we place not pane, panel, okay, dot add label. Okay, then next to that, what we need to do is we need to add this panel to the window dot add, okay, panel. So we did these two steps. Now what we need to do is we need to set our window to visible. Now currently if you run your program, it will run, but it will not display anything yet. One more step we need, because we have to instantiate this class we created. However, if we instantiate it, if we do not set it to visible, it will not display anything. So what we need to do, we need to say our window should be set to visible. Okay, and we say this is true. That means it should display or should set it to visible whatever we create and whatever we place on it. Now, as we learned before, we need to instantiate the class in order for us to execute its components or whatever methods that it has. Now we don't have much of methods, we just have a constructor, and this is the first thing to be called when we instantiate the class. So we don't have to create a new class, we can just create the main method, public static void main, and then in this method or this main method, what we need to do is we just need to instantiate the node class. Now, I can assign something like this, node maybe GUI equals to new node, then nothing in here because our constructor is not receiving any arguments. So this is possible, but we are not actually using this GUI for any application. I personally would drop this one out. You can keep it, but it's not used. Even if you check here, it will tell you like it's not used. So you may just think about like this variable referencing this this class is not used. That's why it's just telling you like reminding you about it. No problem. I'll show you how this works and how the other way also works. Let's just run directly. Okay, look. So what we have are, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Okay, let me just zoom a little bit so that you guys can see properly. Let me carry it to this side. Okay. Now look, I said earlier, before executing, what we can have is something like determined size or fixed size. Then we can actually zoom, because this is something flexible in this sense. Now what we have is the title of this window or GUI, and then we have what we provided here as a label, text label. How we can modify the label, how we will learn later on how to do that. However, what we have is a small panel. We can customize it, placed on this window, centralized. Okay, and on this panel there is a label. So this label has this component, and this is exactly what the question is asking from us. Okay. All right. So for the second question, we will have another session. Now, for this session, we will actually terminate for this session. But before we do that, I said, let me show you one thing. Now, let's just use the default close operation. It terminates, and it tells you even it's terminated. So let me just remove this one so that I show you how it works, because I don't have to assign any reference or the reference of my object to any variable. Now let's just run it. Will run like normal operational process with no problem. It will give you the default view of this GUI. As you see, 250, the dimensions, and we have the components here. You will not see the title because it's a bit small in size. If you stretch it out, you will just see whatever available on the title, and then you will see those. Now you may question yourself and say, okay, but it's too small and it has nothing. So this is not exactly the applications that we have in our real life. That's what we are going to learn slowly, how we modify these components one by one. And this will come in the next session. So let's just end this video now and create another video. Until then, have a good time. Goodbye.